Hello guys, this is Modest Major here, bringing you some commentary over some Halo 5 gameplay. This is taking place on the map Truth. I actually managed to get a pretty darn nice gameplay. We start off by losing pretty tragically. I think we're down by about 10 kills, or maybe 9 kills at one point in this gameplay. But we managed to make a pretty clutch comeback. I start going ham right at the end. I don't play that great throughout all of the game, but I managed to pick it up right at the end, so I thought this was a pretty fun gameplay to watch. Today I just wanted to talk about a little miniature wish list. I think people have a habit of talking about their, their constructive criticisms or what they would like from a Halo game, and it's often a little bit unrealistic. The things they're asking for are just a little bit out of this world. It's not really going to happen. They'd have to redesign the game from scratch. Stuff like, oh, I want the UI redesigned. I want, every single vehicle from every single Halo game. Please, add them all in. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that's optimistic, and obviously that's what we would all like, but there comes a point where they only have so much development capacity within them, and they're trying to work on a new Halo game that we kind of have to set our expectations a little bit down. And I understand that, I've gotten to that point. I understand that, maybe during the first couple of months I felt like they could have made a few more changes here and there, but now we're at the point where they probably have a really small group of people available to them at any time, and we've got to be realistic with what we want to see in the game. And I think the expectations I have are realistic. I think these are doable things, and I think it would be really beneficial for not just us, but for 343 as a whole to implement these bullet points I want to talk about. The first of which is better Forge implementation. Now, I do see Unishek tweeting on Twitter, we've added 30 or so Forge maps into the game since launch, which I do think is impressive, but I do think they've piled a lot of the Forge maps into playlists that are a little bit more niche. We saw a lot of Forge maps being added into BTB. In the first place, BTB wouldn't have maps if it wasn't for Forge maps. So, being able to play 5 Forge maps in BTB, it might seem impressive that, there's 5 or 6. It's probably more than that, actually, because I know they changed a couple of them around and they didn't necessarily add all the Forge Test playlist in at once. But, that sounds like an impressive number, but if you didn't have those maps, you wouldn't have any, and it's actually feels like quite a small rotation. Definitely, in previous games where they have BTB maps, they'll have the default BTB maps, and then they'll have Forge BTB maps added on top of them. For example, Halo Reach, it didn't come anywhere near close to the amount of maps that had. And it's kind of the same thing with Infection. If you were playing Infection on the default maps, it would be kind of terrible, so they had to add in Forge maps, and it doesn't actually have that many Forge maps in general, I wouldn't say. And Halo Reach's maps just seem to work better as default maps for Infection than I think Halo 5's would have. Halo 5's are pretty close quarters. I mean, even their BTB Forge maps are pretty close quarters for the most part, so there wasn't actually that many maps that would have worked if they hadn't have created Forge maps. And that's already a pile of maps, right out the gate that have been used. Then you have Griffball, of course. No default Griffball maps, that's understandable. They've only really had Forge maps in the past. So it comes to a point when it's like, well, yeah, we got all these maps on this playlist, and that's great. I'm not complaining about that. It's fine for what they are. It's just, it would be really nice to see some arena Forge maps. And, it comes from a perspective of admiration for 343's Forge in Halo 5. I actually think it's my favourite Forge out of the series. What I've seen on our Halo, Reddit/Halo, I should say, and the different, internet places, hubs, for this kind of content, I think it's actually incredible what they come up with. But the bottom line is, where they're at right now, they don't really have this huge community to instantly be able to drop in, drop out of these massive custom games and be able to experience the variety that you would want. There just isn't the user base for that right now. It's not Halo 3. We can't expect to be able to come up with this on our own. It's pretty difficult to do so. And as a result, I would really like to see some of that stuff on matchmaking. The fact of the matter is that every single Halo map of all time has been remade in Halo 5, and with all the different tessellations that you're able to come up with and all the different forge pieces, all the different aesthetics, they're actually strikingly, resemble the previous Forge maps, the Forge alterations, and I think it's really impressive, and I would love for them to be able to show that off and say, you know, this is what the community has come up with, we're really proud of that, and we're really proud of what our Forge is capable of doing, and we want you to be able to play it in arena matchmaking. You know, whether it's remakes or new Forge creations, I get that remakes would actually be easier than coming up with these new Forge creations, because then you have to test them, then you have to play them with other players. It's going to be a lot easier to be able to test something that's like, you know, a striking remake. You know, you get someone like Ghosted Army or one of the Halo 2 classic players, they're going to be able to play that map, they're going to be able to play a remake of that, and in about 10 seconds they're going to be able to say, yeah, that's pretty much spot on, that's pretty much what you want from a Halo map. I get that they might be busy with the new Halo game, but I just struggle to see that there aren't the resources available at hand to be able to just test a map for a couple of, you know, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. The second thing I want to say is more game types. Now, I think they're doing okay with game types. They do have strongholds, they do have CTF, but I think you do get to that point in the night where you're playing Arena, where you're playing Slayer, and you just want one or two more playlists into the mix. And again, I don't think this would be something that's that unrealistic. You throw in something like King of the Hill, you throw in something like Ricochet. I understand, again, this would take some degree of testing, but I just don't see how it can be 100% difficult to be able to put in, you know, one extra playlist to give that feeling of variety that Halo's so famous for and so beloved for, just to be able to say, hey, you know, let's play a night of Halo and every game feels really different, wildly different. You do get to that point where you've played about 20 games in a row, say, and you feel like you've played one too many Slayers or one too many King of the Hills, and one too many Capture the Flag. You know, even moving Assault into it as a permanent playlist in Team Arena, I don't really understand why that hasn't happened yet, because it would do a great job of adding to the variety and the diversity of game types in Team Arena. Yeah, I'm just not really too sure why that is. I get that they don't want to flood the matchmaking with too many playlists, because that has been a problem in previous games, and then by the end of the game, by the end of the game's life cycle, some of the playlists are just dead, a la Halo 4. But at the end of the day, I think there's a sweet spot, and I'm not 100% sure if they're hitting it. You know, I don't think it's Halo 4. Halo 4 maybe had too many, and it was a little bit wild. But at the end of the day, I think they could hit this this middle ground, where it's like, hey, you know, we've got quite a few playlists, but we didn't go overboard. We've got maybe King of the Hill, we've got Ricochet or something like that on top of it. I think that would be absolutely incredible, and I'd like to think that it wouldn't take too much testing to be able to just move a hill around the map, even if it wasn't in Team Arena, even if it was maybe a little bit imbalanced and they hadn't tested it to the point that it could be used in competitive. It would still be really nice to have that extra playlist and say, wow, this is really cool. You know, when I got my hands on Triple Team Sarah, I was like, oh my god, I have a new playlist to play, and it was really exciting and felt really fresh. Anyway, I've been Modest Major. I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary and agree with the points that I made. Leave a comment if you enjoyed or if you didn't enjoy. Thanks for watching. Peace.